everyone, and welcome to How Have We Never Seen This Before? This is a podcast where two best friends discuss iconic movies that neither of us have ever seen before, although we probably should have seen them a long time ago. I'm Isabel.
And I'm Lauren.
And this is How Have We Never Seen This Before? Hope you enjoy! So, for the first film that we were going to discuss, Lauren and I decided on Rocky because both of us are from the Philly area. We're kind of from the outskirts, and it just seemed appropriate that that would be the first episode. Lauren and I are both also Italian, but not as heavily Italian as Rocky is. And Lauren and I have also both been to Pat's, which they go to in the movie, and we've also both run up the art museum stairs.
And yeah, so even though we've done all of those things, it's still pretty embarrassing that we've never seen Rocky. We get made fun of all the time, and people always say, "How have you never seen Rocky before?" So we decided to watch it.
And with that, let's get right into the podcast. We haven't talked about the movie with each other at all. We just said that we've watched it and we left it at that. So all of our reactions to each other's reactions to the movie would be here for the first time. So the first thing I thought when this movie started was, oh right, that's the Rocky theme song. We played the Rocky theme song in band, and we in high school we did.
We
I don't know
did?
if you remember. Yeah, we did.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and I didn't even I just assumed it only played when he ran up the steps,
Me too.
and I was completely wrong. It was just like the start of the movie and then once like towards the end. It wasn't like in Harry Potter where it like Hedwig's thing plays like all the time.
hmm
But it wasn't. Okay. That was my first reaction to the movie. And then so it goes into the first fight scene. It's just like Rocky in the boxing ring. I don't know what the building that he boxes in is called. There wasn't really any like defining features of it, except I saw that Jesus was hanging up on the wall.
I saw
And
it too.
and it said Resurrection AC. And I thought like, oh, maybe I'm like picking up on something, but there had nothing happened with that at all.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be some sort of motif that was like, yeah, Rocky is Jesus. We're comparing him to Jesus, but then I never saw that again.
Yeah, and I also had a huge problem with this opening scene because whoever Rocky was fighting, it was very obvious that he wasn't hitting him.
Oh,
It was
that was my biggest problem. Actually, no, there's one problem that was bigger than that, but that was up there with one of my biggest problems throughout the whole film.
like it wasn't even just this scene. It was in the final fight scene. They were just like air punching each other, and they were acting like he broke Apollo Creed's rib, and I was just like, that's not realistic.
I had to ask if those were actual punches that were supposed to be being thrown or if he was dodging them.
That's what I was like. I didn't know which ones he was dodging and which ones he was supposed to be getting hit with.
Yeah, they really need to improve on their stage combat skills.
I remember doing like fake sword fighting in theater class in high school, and like fake slapping, and I kind of thought I did a better job. But it's okay.
Well, okay. The first thing I noticed when they started fighting, it's quarantine, haven't really seen many people out and about. So the first thing I noticed was how muscly they were when they were fighting. I was like, ooh.
My next note was about the way Sylvester Stallone looked because it doesn't look like him. Like that's not the look that I associate with Sylvester Stallone at all.
Yeah, I agree.
He has like a more square face now, I feel like, and he's just so small.
How old was he, do you think?
He's supposed to be 30 in the movie. I don't know if he's 30 when this was filmed. I guess I could probably look it up. Let's see.
He does have a bit of a baby face.
He does have a baby face. He's 73 now. Wow. Oh, he was actually 30 when this was filmed. So, or I guess when this came out. It came out in 1976 and he was born in 1946. He's a lot older than I thought he was.
Oh, wow.
My next note was what's up with the fedora? He like wears a fedora and a leather like trench coat the entire movie, and I didn't know how I felt about that.
Yeah. I also thought it was interesting that everyone uses bum as an insult. That's such a horrible thing to call someone.
Then he like walks there's like this pet store right across from the gym, right? And as soon as he started like playing with the dog in the window, I was like, he's getting a dog. There's no way he's not getting a dog by the end of this movie. And then Adrian, this is the start of all my problems with this movie. It's obvious he likes Adrian, and she seems so uncomfortable by him. Every interaction she has with him, she's like hiding behind a bird cage or she's hiding behind the counter, and I feel so bad for her because he just keeps coming at her and there's nothing she can do.
I feel bad for her at first, because you can't tell if she's just shy or if she's really, really uncomfortable and he's when he harasses her. But then
He's harassing her.
I know. I feel like it made me so uncomfortable at the beginning when they had all of their interactions.
Every interaction that they had, I wanted to scream. And honestly, as soon as I saw that she had glasses on, I was like, halfway through this movie, she's gonna take her glasses off and he's gonna think she's the most beautiful girl in the world. And she did. And then she didn't wear her glasses the entire rest of the film once he took them off for the first time.
How does she see? That's what I'd love to know.
Like, she didn't just get contacts. They don't show her going to the eye doctor to get contacts. Okay, and then we find out that Rocky is a bully. At least that's how I described it. He would go up, I guess it's technically called like a loan shark. Like they mention loan sharks in the film,
Mhm.
and he just like goes around almost beating people up for money. And I just like thought about him as a bully stealing lunch money from people.
Yeah, I guess. I
Oh
don't
no,
know.
you don't think that?
He's trying to make a living and he doesn't want to hurt anyone. I don't know.
If he doesn't want to hurt anyone, there's a million other jobs he could do where he could still be a boxer.
Okay, but here's the thing is that if if you listen to what he says, I guess was it his someone in his life once told him that he doesn't have a brain, he just has a body and he has to use that. And so I think he truly believes that and that's why he is a loan shark and also fights because that's what he was told that's what he was told he can do.
Hmm, I guess I never heard that. Like, I never caught that.
I also have to say that when he was walking home after like going to the pet store or whatever, and he had the sip of alcohol and he like took it from someone, drank it, and then put it back, it kind of triggered me because of the times that we're living in right now. I was like, oh my god,
I
bread fires.
later on, I was like, there are so many health and safety problems in this film, and this wouldn't work right now.
Really not.
Especially with the meat and everything, but we'll get to that. So then he's walking back in, it's the next day, I think, and then he's walking back into the boxing ring, and he talks to that, I guess he's a maintenance man. I don't remember his name, but he's just outside sweeping the steps, and he's, like, talking to him, and he's like, "Are you deaf?" And he goes, "No, I'm short."
That made me
And I was
laugh.
like, "I relate to that." I'm not that short, but I feel short when I'm standing next to you. And then I feel like this is, like, kind of his downward point when he, like, walks in and he can't get into his locker. I guess Mickey is his name. He moved all his stuff out because he wasn't trying hard enough,
Mhm.
and I had a a problem with that as well, just, like, if you wanted him to succeed, like, why didn't like and he talks about it later, it's like, "Why didn't you help him?" And then he's like, "Why didn't you ask for help?" And he's like, "I did ask for help," and their whole relationship seemed strange to me.
I personally really thought that Mickey was really funny, especially when he called Rocky a tomato. I just kind of appreciate how he tells Rocky what he needs to hear.
Yeah. I think Rocky's very full of himself,
Mhm.
and it's hard for me to to listen to him talk because he never stops talking. Like, all he does the entire movie is just talk at people. Like,
Mhm.
even when he went on the date with Adrian, he was just, like, talking at her the entire time until they went into the ice skating rink, and he just never stops talking.
Yeah, I actually wrote that down. I said, "Oh my god, please stop talking."
Mine was, "Does he ever stop talking?"
I love that.
And, oh, I said it again later, I was like, "Just talks at people, oh my god." So, then we see Adrian interact with her brother, and I could not believe that her brother talked to her the way that he did all the time. He would just straight up call her a loser and, like, it seemed like he was trying to pawn her off to Rocky to get her out of the house. Like, he doesn't want her around.
He kind of blames Adrian for all of his own shortcomings. Like, he blames her for not being able to have a wife, which I thought was really mean. I really disliked Polly.
Polly is a terrible person, and I couldn't understand why Adrian didn't leave him earlier. I get that he's her brother, but it was such a terrible situation.
Mhm. I also thought that when Rocky was in the pet shop and he was, like, talking at Adrian and talking about, all of the creepy guys
I
that
was like, "You're the creepy guy."
I was like, "Dude, you are the creep."
And then when he walked that girl home, I don't know who she's related to or how he knew her, but she was when she walks in the house, like this 12-year-old girl, she's like she calls him a creepo, and I was like, "Yes, you are absolutely right. He's a creepo. He should be leaving you alone."
Like, "Thank you." And then when he tells the girl, he says, "It's simple mathematics." I was thinking to myself, that thing that's like, "It's mathematics, love."
What is that from?
It's like the meme of, like, the British person. You don't know that?
No, I have no idea
I'm
what
with you
that
right
is.
now. Hold on. Okay, did you get it?
I have never seen
Oh
that.
my god.
If anyone listening doesn't know this, it's a blonde British woman with long neon colored nails in a Snapchat photo, and it says, "It's mathematics, love."
It's a mathematics, love.
Math spelled MAFE. Very British,
Very British.
very British. Okay, so next we meet, Apollo Creed. We don't, like, really meet him, but he's on the TV, and I wasn't sure if this was actually Apollo Creed or if this was someone, like, speaking for Apollo Creed, like, his manager,
Mhm.
but he says he's gonna crack the Liberty Bell again, and then he's like, "But you should all stay in school."
Yeah, he says, "Be a thinker, not a stinker." I was like, "Wow. Thank you for that insight."
I was like, "You just said that you are such a good fighter that you can crack the Liberty Bell again, and then you tell everyone to stay in school."
Yep.
It was a very mixed message to me.
I agree.
Um, but then they go into I don't know who this man is. I guess he's a boxer promoter. George Jurgens is the boxing promoter. He looks very much like a mob boss, like Godfather-esque. And then I love his manager. His manager's wearing a red and white checkered suit,
Oh, yeah.
and I think he looks great. And, like, the shirt unbuttoned, like, pretty far down. I love the look. But then his original fighter partner drops out because he broke a rib? Was that what happened? I didn't understand why this guy dropped out, but he had to drop out for some reason. Then he says that this fight is gonna be on America's birthday, and I was so confused because they said that no one else wanted to do the fight because they only had 5 weeks to prepare. But earlier they had said that Thanksgiving was the next day, and then he kept saying America's birthday and like this American patriotic fight, and I was heavily confused because that meant that was on Christmas or New Year's if it was only 5 weeks away. And it turns out it's a New Year's Day fight, but the way they talk the entire movie and all the patrioticness of it, I could have sworn it was on July 4th, and I didn't understand why
Me too. I was like,
no one wanted to fight.
I was so confused because they would always talk about America's birthday and like how important it is that it's on that day, but it's January 1st.
I've never, ever heard anyone call New Year's Day America's birthday because America's birthday is July 4th.
Maybe there's a reason why.
I'm not really sure, but it was very confusing because there was no date on any of the posters, at least that I saw. And then he dresses up as George Washington later, and I was like, it's definitely July 4th. And they didn't say it was New Year's until the end of the movie. Besides my confusion with the dates, we cut from this scene of them talking about the fight, and Rocky is with his loan shark boss, and I just have to say he's the nicest boss I've ever seen. He just hands him $50 for his date with Adrian and is like, "Here you go, don't worry about it." And I thought like maybe he's gonna like come back and ask for the money. Maybe there's like a problem with this job and he's gonna hurt him or something and he won't be able to fight. But then it's later he gives him $500. He's just like, take this and here you go.
I really thought that that was going to become a bigger plot line.
Yeah.
I really do love how the boss was such a gossip. He always knew the latest tea in town, and he would say, you don't think I hear things? My favorite.
Yeah, I've never seen a movie or like I've never heard of a mob boss, but like why is he so nice?
Wait,
I just couldn't wrap my head around it.
you don't mean to tell me that you don't interact with mob bosses on the daily?
No, it's so strange. Like it's a normal part of everyone else's life, but not mine, you know? I'm just missing out. And then I said, how did they make 5 more movies out of this? Halfway through the film and I was just like, where's the fight? This movie's 2 hours long. When do we get to the part that actually matters?
Exactly.
There's just so much buildup.
Yes, I feel like it's so weird because there are only 2 fight scenes pretty much, and they're very short. And isn't the movie about a guy that likes to fight?
Yeah, I always thought this movie was like a Philly hero boxer story, and it could have been set anywhere. There's hardly any boxing, and I would not classify Rocky as a hero.
Honestly, maybe it's a good thing that they didn't show a lot of boxing because the scenes that did have the actual fighting were pretty awful.
Yeah, and how do they make more movies where they can't box if this is a boxing?
Maybe they take stage combat lessons between each film.
They definitely should because it wasn't great. But then they're talking about Rocky again, and they call him Southpaw. So I had no idea what this meant, and I thought they were saying South Paul, like the name Paul. I was like, what is this?
Oh my
I
god.
was so confused. And they said it several times in that scene, so I finally understood. And then I was like, isn't that movie with Jake Gyllenhaal? Where he's a boxer.
Maybe I just knew what that was because I'm left-handed, but oh my god.
But then 10 minutes later, when they're at the ice rink, Rocky and Adrian, he's like, "Yeah, southpaw means left-handed," and everything made sense. And then, okay, now it's Thanksgiving,
Oh,
and so many problems happen at Thanksgiving.
I love how
Adrian's brother sucks.
well, true, yeah. I love how when they first walk in, the lights are off.
I know.
That killed me.
If she's been cooking all day for Thanksgiving and it's dark out and you have all the lights off, you're just in your house in the dark cooking.
I feel like that's such a typical, like, way to save money, quote unquote.
Yeah, but it didn't there were no lights in the house at all. Like, when they turned the light on, the light in the kitchen went on because you would have been able to see light from the kitchen. I don't know. I was like, "Why is she in the dark?" And then her brother calls her a loser, and I thought when they were walking in and, like, walking down the street, I thought they were having Thanksgiving dinner together, and then he was like, "No, Rocky wants to take you out."
I know. I was under the impression that he invited Rocky over for Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah, that's what I thought, and then then he took the turkey out of the oven and threw it in the yard or the alley,
That was so mean.
and she gets so upset. She runs to her bedroom, she's crying, and then Polly's like, "Why don't you go ask her out on a date?" It's like, "You just called your sister a loser in front of the boy I guess she likes, even though she shouldn't, and you're telling him to ask her out on a date."
Imagine living with your brother and having to do everything for him, and you decide to make a nice Thanksgiving turkey for you and him, and all of a sudden he storms in, demands that you calls you a loser, demands that you go on a date with his creepy friend, and then throws the turkey that you spent the entire day working on out the window.
I would be so mad. Like, I'd be furious, and he just, like Rocky goes and knocks on her door, and he's like, "Hey, it's Rocky here."
No,
Like
yo, Adrian.
and I'm like, "Why would you say yes?" But then I was thinking maybe she hates her brother so much, she just wants to leave, and I was like, "Okay, it's like, I can see that." But then Rocky knows nothing about her. They're standing in the doorway waiting for her, and he says to Polly, he's like, "So what does she like to do?" It's like, "How long have you been in love with this girl and you know absolutely nothing about her? You just know her brother and her first name?"
Well, it's because it's him talking at her all of the time and talking about himself.
I just like he in my mind, he's just like making up this image of this girl, and it made me so mad. And then they're playing this romantic music as they walk out of the house, and I just stop. Like, this isn't a romantic moment. Her brother's awful. She's just trying to get away from him.
I kind of disagree with you there. I think that she really liked Rocky all along, but she's just painfully shy because of how awful her brother is to her.
I don't know because it's just very borderline. Is she that shy or is she very uncomfortable? Like, I don't think there's a good way to tell, and I think that should be a hint to Rocky to be like, okay, maybe I should back off because maybe she's uncomfortable.
Well, he doesn't understand social
That's
cues,
very
which is
clear.
a problem. But also, at the same time, you can't tell at first whether or not she's uncomfortable or just really shy. But I think towards the end of the film, when she starts coming out of her shell and she really, really seems to like Rocky, you can tell that she was more shy than uncomfortable during those scenes.
Or is it just that she took her glasses off and now she's a brand new person?
Oh, wait, that's so much better.
Yeah, I don't know. I have problems with it later, and I just don't like their whole relationship, and I don't think it should happen. But then there wouldn't be a movie because that's the majority of the movie.
Hmm.
So then they go ice skating, and why does he not get ice skates, first of all? They go through all this trouble, she gets ice skates. He goes on the ice in his platform shoes. His boots or whatever, they're at least an inch and a half off the ground. Is he short? Like, did they, like, do that to give him more height? I don't know. But then he's just casually walking on the ice.
I guess he was nervous and you don't wanna embarrass yourself on the first date. Actually, never mind, he really did embarrass himself throughout the whole
Yeah,
date.
like, even if he's bad at ice skating, it's like, it could be cute. Like, when when we went ice skating, we didn't let go of the wall for the first hour and a half.
You're right.
If he did
Honestly, Adrian was pretty
She was
good.
good. Even if he hadn't skated since he was 8 years old, I feel like he would still be able to skate.
I don't know, we
But I've
couldn't
never
skate.
skated, so
I have, and I was just as bad as you.
yeah, I don't know, maybe their ice was different or something, like, he could just walk on it. This is where they explain that southpaw means left-handed, and I was like, "Wow, I was really dumb." And then
So
and then they kept bringing up the names of people that Rocky was fighting, and I was like, "What? Where did they come up with this?" Like, Apollo Creed, like, Rocky Balboa, that's just, like, a strange name to begin with, and then the last person he fought, their name was Spider.
I guess it's all about intimidating the other person.
But it seemed like these weren't, like, his fighting name is Italian Stallion. Like, first of all, that's not intimidating.
True.
And everyone called him Rocky, and I'm assuming if they called Apollo Creed, like, that's probably his name. And the spider guy, he had a last name too, I just don't remember what it was. I don't know, I just thought it was strange.
Yeah, but I also don't understand boxing too well,
Yeah,
which I think is one of our shortcomings
that's what
here.
I realized at the end of this movie. I was like, I know absolutely nothing about boxing. Are there I thought there were 3 rounds. Turns out they have 15 in this match. But anyway, it's back to the date,
Oh,
and they're at Rocky's apartment. And he spends 2.5 minutes of the film pressuring her to go inside. And she's like, I need to leave. I need to go home. This is like my biggest problem with all of this. Because he
mhm.
just keeps saying, like, come inside. Like, what's the big deal? She's like, I have to leave. And he doesn't get it.
I was so uncomfortable at this entire scene.
Like, why would you go? He's not even like he was verbally pressuring her, but he wasn't like physically pressuring her at that point. So she could have just turned around and walked away.
That's why I also think it was because she was shy and she'd never done something like this before.
I don't know.
Because she could have just turned around and walked home.
My next like 4 notes were I don't like Rocky. This needs to stop. Please let her leave.
I wrote in all caps, "Oh my god, I'm so uncomfortable." And then I wrote, "I guess she's into it?" question mark.
Yeah. And then he takes off his jacket and sits on his couch and he's like, it's scary over there. Come sit with me.
Yeah, Rocky, maybe it's because you have knives in your walls holding things
Maybe
up.
she's scared of
Maybe
you.
that's why.
And it's just like he's like, there's creeps out there. I don't want you to go home. And I was like, there's a creep right in front of her.
And then when he physically blocks the door and tries to kiss her, that was when I really
I
felt
was scared. I was like,
uncomfortable.
they're not gonna let this happen in this movie, but like that's where I feel this is going.
Mhm.
And then he takes off her glasses and he's like, he says, I always knew you were pretty. That's a direct quote from the
How
movie. And I was like,
rude!
that's such a terrible compliment. Because that's not a compliment.
If I were wearing a hat and glasses and someone took them off of me and said, "Ah, I always knew you were pretty," I would be so offended.
I and then he's like, "I'm gonna kiss you now. You don't have to kiss me back." And I was like, That's not how this works."
That is
And
not
I said,
correct.
"Don't kiss him. This is awful. This needs to stop. Why?" I'm so uncomfortable.
I was cringing so much during this scene.
And then
Also, wait, hold on. I also think that portraying, like, an interaction like this for young men who are watching this film might teach them that that's a perfectly acceptable way to treat a girl. And because I guess because it worked out in the end for Rocky and Adrian, they might think that even more. And I think that's really problematic.
I know the whole and it's just like teaching them that, oh, girls will just give in to anything. And it's like girls should know that they can say no, that they don't have to do this. And I can't imagine this movie coming out now. It would have so much backlash for their entire relationship, and
Mhm.
it would just be so bad.
Yeah, they would have a lot of hate.
And then they're like he like kisses her and then they like sink to the floor but on their knees and then she's like laying sideways. I had so many problems with that.
Yeah, I was very uncomfortable throughout the whole entire scene, and I felt so bad for Adrian because this was the first time she's ever really gone on a date, and that's how it goes.
And it's like it's portraying it as positive. That's not positive.
That's not romantic.
I would consider that a disaster first date situation.
Worst case scenario,
Yeah.
honestly. The only saving grace of the date would be the turtles.
his his
They were
turtles'
cute.
names are Cuff and Link. Why? I don't know. And then he's got a goldfish named Moby Dick.
Yeah. They're the true stars of the film.
Yeah, no, I agree. Everything surrounded that turtle food and how it had too many moths and not enough flies. But anyway, then this is when Mickey yells at Rocky, or Rocky yells at Mickey first. That happens right after this. And then I was like, "Oh, they're loan sharks. I'm dumb." That's when they finally bring it up and I'm like, "Wow, I finally realized what's actually happening here."
Are you kidding?
I didn't know. I don't know.
You just thought Rocky was the neighborhood bully up until that point?
Yeah, honestly. It was like he was stealing lunch money from a kid.
Oh my god.
And he was like, "I'm not gonna break your thumb, but I would." I don't know. But then they're fighting back and forth about how he just like puts Rocky down all the time and like he could have been a great fighter.
At that point, I really liked Mick because he just straight up told Rocky that didn't amount to anything and that it's kind of his fault. And I like that. He really told him like it
Yeah, I
was.
definitely think it's Rocky's fault, but at the same time, it's also like you could have offered him a bit more help. The way it's portrayed,
Hmm.
it's like he never helped him at all. I mean, maybe he did, but it's not shown that way, so I'm not 100% sure. My next note is I hate their relationship, and I don't remember what that was about. I'm sure I was talking about Adrian and Rocky.
I think, yeah, you're right. It's funny because whenever he calls her, he always goes, "Yo, Adrian," and that is not the most romantic way to talk to your partner.
Oh, okay. Yep, I know where we are now. And then they're watching Rocky talking on TV with Apollo Creed. That's what's happening right now. And
Hmm.
then he was like, "Yeah, did you like how I said your name on the TV?" And she was like, "I mean, why'd you do that?" And then as he's leaving her and her brother's house, he's like, "You know how I said that TV thing didn't bother me?" She was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "It actually did." And then he left. And
Yeah, that part I feel like was not
and
necessary.
also I was like, "Wow, you're really open. You're showing so much emotion." He's just like this macho guy who can't process anything else.
Well, I guess also it goes back to what he was telling Adrian about how everyone has always told him that he can only use his body in life and not his mind. So I guess it's really hard for him to open up and kind of show emotion.
Yeah, I guess if
I
I
don't
had
know.
heard that part, this part would have made a lot more sense. Um, okay, but now he's got this deal for the fight, right? And
Hmm.
all these people are crawling out of the woodwork to try and work with him. Like there's Mickey like crawling back and he's like, I can train you, like I can do this. And then Polly's like, no, I can do it. Come punch me at the meat packing facility. And when Mickey comes like crawling back to Rocky, Rocky just shouts at him and is like, "You never helped me. You never did anything for me." And he's like, "Why didn't you ask for help?" And it's just like, "You never listen."
It really seemed like a dad and his son type of deal there.
Yeah, but also, like, I don't understand why Mickey offered to train him after that fight, after that, like, outburst of him just yelling and punching a wall. I don't know, it seemed kind of ridiculous to me. Like, I would never after, like, him shouting all that at me and telling me I'm a terrible person, why would you go back and train him?
I don't know. I think they both needed each other and they just needed to let out their aggression and get everything out in the open before they finally came together
Yeah, I guess
and
I'm,
worked
like
together. I don't
personally, I hold grudges too too long and
know.
start them too quick. So yeah, I wouldn't have never
You
I would
wouldn't
have,
have
like,
trained
kicked him out of my
Rocky?
gym weeks ago.
I love how Rocky was making fun of the way his apartment smelled, like saying that it stinks, but he doesn't clean. Maybe take the knives out of the
But I
walls.
guess, like, this is the start where Rocky's like, "Okay, let me try and, like, get ready for this fight." Because Mickey, like, takes him on to train him, and then there's this whole part where the radio is on, and I'm assuming that whole thing was just, like, a Philly reference, and I didn't get it at all, and I felt like a bad Pennsylvanian that lives near Philly.
I wasn't listening to that. I was too busy focusing on the
The
fact that
4
he
raw
drank that many eggs.
I
That was
don't
so
see how
gross.
that could help him in any way, because and he's gonna
He's
puke him
gonna
up
get
on his run
salmonella.
because he can't make it up the art museum steps. I was so disappointed because I thought that was it,
I
and I was
know.
like, "This
I thought that was the
is
scene.
nowhere near as exciting as I thought it would be. He better run up these stairs again." That was a disappointment. And I don't know, I thought maybe from everything that I've heard about it, there would be a lot more training, you'd see a lot more progress. You'd see him, like, go a quarter way up the stairs and then halfway, and then finally he makes it all the way. It wasn't a great training scene like I thought it would be.
He honestly just looked like I do when I walk up the stairs.
Yeah, he was I guess he's probably already run several miles,
Mhm.
but I don't know. It I was just disappointed because I thought that was it. And I literally wrote, "He better run up those stairs again because that was awful." And then he runs to Polly, and Polly in the meatpacking district.
Oh.
And first off, Polly's just pushing the meat around and letting it hit Rocky in the face. And I was like, that's so unsanitary. You shouldn't be doing this. Maybe I have a bigger problem with this because we're in quarantine right now. But were there no food regulations in the 70s? Were they just allowed to touch everything without gloves on their hands? People could just come in and punch meat if they wanted to. Polly, or I guess it's Rocky, he says, Polly offered me to come in, and then his boss is like totally fine with it because I'm promoting them because I'm in this fight. So the boss is okay with me coming in, touching everything, not even with boxing gloves on. He's got tape around his hands, and then his hands are covered in blood.
Yeah. I'd have to say, as someone that's been a vegetarian for 4 years, the scene was really off-putting.
I don't know how Lauren's gonna watch this scene. Like, what did she think? Like, this is awful.
Yeah, it was not a good time for me. I was sitting on my couch like, trying to watch it. It was just horrifying.
Honestly, like, I just wrote wash your hands. Like, I hope he washed his hands after he did before and after he went into the meat factory.
Wash your hands after you beat someone's meat.
Not putting that in.
Okay. I'm sorry, I just had to say
We'll see. We'll see. Maybe that's funny.
just had to say that. No, but he doesn't wash his hands until Adrian helps him.
Right, but was that after punching all the meat?
Yeah, so he walks all the way home with meaty, bloody hands and then probably touches the doorknob to enter his house. It was just not good.
Yeah, that's disgusting. Anyway, moving on from that disgusting scene. He gets the dog. He gets the dog that was in that tiny crate in the pet store. And that was probably the best moment in Adrian and Rocky's relationship, where she got him a dog so he wouldn't be lonely on his runs.
Yep. And that's an important scene, I think, because then you can truly see that Adrian really cares for him.
Yeah.
And she's coming out of her shell.
Yeah, there's definitely a shift there. But then they're like sitting in Adrian's house, and her brother walks up singing Christmas songs, but he's wasted, absolutely drunk, comes in, and then they're talking about how Rocky doesn't think that Paulie should be his manager or his trainer. I don't know how they didn't realize Paulie was right behind them. And all the lights are off again because they never have lights on in their house.
They're trying to save money.
But then Polly like walks over to the corner, grabs a bat, and just starts hitting things. And Rocky's like covering Adrian's head with his arms and like with his entire body. And she runs to her room. And honestly, the way she was yelling at him, it was very like she was hysterically yelling. And that one fight scene, I guess it's not a fight because there's fights and then there's the arguments, but like it just didn't seem very believable to me because I don't know. I get that it's an emotional situation, but
I think that it kind of shows Adrian's character development, that she finally was able to stand up to him and scream at him.
yeah,
She's kind of breaking out of her shell.
I wanted more angry screaming. It was more like, ah! That's kind of how I interpreted it. Yeah, and then she's like, "Do you want a roommate?" And I was shocked. I said, like, this should not be the moment where you decide to live together. Like, yes, she needs to get out of there, but is this really the right time to be like, yes, we're at that stage in our relationship where we should be living together in that disgusting apartment.
They've only been dating for like 2 weeks at this point.
Yeah, the movie's like not that long of a span of time.
Like, what?
Like, I don't even know if it's Christmas yet. So maybe max it's like 4 weeks. Thinking like from Thanksgiving to Christmas, depending on where Thanksgiving is that year.
Mhm.
So maybe a month. That I don't know. That just seems like too little. an amount of time before that big step.
Like, imagine the person that you're seeing for 2 weeks just asks you, "You want a roommate?" I would be
I'd be like, "No."
I would say, "No." I don't know.
And then this is, like, the moment that everything turns around for Rocky, I feel like, and it shouldn't be, but, like, it is, so here we go. It's another training montage, and I was so ready for him to run up those stairs, and he didn't right away, and I was like, "Oh, no. Is he not gonna run up those stairs?" Because it was just him back in the meat district and doing other things, and then finally, you see him run up the stairs, and honestly, that's still kinda how I look running up those stairs. It wasn't like a big triumphant moment for me.
Really?
It was just yeah.
I thought that the way that scene was shot really captured how triumphant it was.
I don't know, he just, like, finally made it up the stairs, and it wasn't like I don't know, I've in my mi since I never saw the movie, I had an image in my mind of how it would work. Like, he finally makes it up the stairs, and as he's on that last step, then he raises his arms, and he's, like, jumping and then turning around. He kinda, like, stands there for a second,
Mhm,
and then he lifts up his arms.
mhm.
So I guess I had a different expectation.
I don't
I don't know.
know. I think that I enjoyed that because the music, first of all,
Yeah.
the crescendo at the end, I really appreciated. I also really liked the time of day that it was filmed at, and then I also like how when he was running through the neighborhood, people were giving him things and everyone knew who he was, and he was kind of already the hero without even having fought yet, and that's
Yeah.
why I really appreciated it, and I thought it was such a turning point in the movie.
I guess I focused too much on their relationship that I couldn't see past how much I didn't like it. Maybe he is a hero and I'm just cynical.
I think I think it's a mixture of both.
Okay, and then so it's the night before the show. So I guess this is technically New Year's Eve. And now that I think about that, it's a little weird that Adrian's just like already asleep and they're not celebrating New Year's Eve. I always thought that was a little bit more of a big deal because it's America's birthday,
Mhm.
obviously.
And also, they're supposed to be on such good terms in their relationship, but they seem to be sleeping in 2 different, beds, like, he sleeps on the couch and she sleeps in the bed.
I mean, the bed is only a twin bed.
True.
He's a big guy. I don't know.
You're right.
But then he's at the I guess it's an arena or a ring. I don't know what you would call it, but then he sees that boxing promoter and he's like in a full suit. It must be like 3 in the morning. I don't know what time it is, but it's definitely late. He's in a full suit. He's got red leather gloves on inside and he's smoking a cigar.
He definitely just
I don't know.
killed someone.
The gloves are red from someone's blood.
He's up to no good.
Honestly, I was just like, "This is a random, like, outfit, but you do you, man."
Gotta respect the drip.
And then he makes it back to his apartment, and he wakes Adrian up and is like, "I don't know if I can do this." And he kept saying like, once he, like, finally got over that, he was like, "I can go the distance." And all I could think about was him bursting out into Hercules's "I can go the distance."
I
Which I thought would be very funny.
I was just picturing the time that we had to sing that in choir in middle school.
Yeah, that was the 8th grade graduation song. Was that for you or was that for the people a year above you?
I think that was for me.
Oh, yeah, because we weren't allowed to sing "Waiting on the World to Change."
Really?
But, yeah, that's why we had to change it, because it didn't send the right message. But anyway, that's for another time. And then, finally, it's the fight. This is, like, the last 20 minutes of the movie.
Mhm.
And I was like, "What was that last hour and 40 minutes for?" Like, I get, like, some of it's a build up, but there was just too much. So then they're putting oil or, like, Vaseline all over them, and why? I don't know. Is that, like, a fighting thing?
I think it is.
It was just, like, very weird because they put it under his eyes. I can understand, like, putting it on their arms or, like, their chest to make them slippery, so it's, like, harder to I don't know, grab him or something, but under his eyes, that was, like, very strange to me. So do you know what that Vaseline is?
Yeah, so I actually looked up why they put on Vaseline, and I found out that before the fight, boxers will usually put Vaseline on the places where they're most likely to get hit, especially the face, because it makes the skin more elastic and less likely to tear.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, the more you know.
Okay, and then right after that, they start sniffing things, and I don't know what it was, if you wanna look that up too.
Yes, I actually did look that up. So I found out that it's actually smelling salts that they used to use before matches, and the smelling salts release an inhalation reflex that causes the muscles that control breathing to work faster, according to Wikipedia.
Yeah, that definitely seems like it's illegal now.
Yeah, I don't think they do that anymore. Probably not good for your brain either.
Yeah, definitely not. And then we reach the pinnacle moment of the film where Apollo Creed is dressed up as George Washington. And I still didn't understand what date this was because that made me again think it was July 4th, but it was not.
It was not July 4th.
And then he changes outfits, changes patriotic outfits, and he is dressed up as Uncle Sam. Um,
Mhm.
which I mean, yeah, really get the people going.
I thought it was interesting at this point too, and important that he was throwing money into the crowd because I guess it kind of creates a juxtaposition between the rich pro boxer and Rocky, the Italian poor guy from Philly. And so I don't know, I thought that was kind of important to the story.
Yeah, the only thing, like, I didn't understand about that was when I heard the announcers say he was throwing money because I hadn't seen him throwing money up to that point. I was like, "He must be throwing coins because like, quarters or something, because I don't see, like, big pieces of money floating around, so that's gotta hurt."
Yeah, I didn't want to be hit in the head with a quarter.
And then I took note of how much time was left in the film, and there and there were only 12 minutes left, and the fight finally started.
Mhm.
I
Oh, wait, we forgot to talk about Adrian's killer outfit.
Yeah, the beret, the red
The
beret.
beret, the pantsuit, oh, killing it.
Yeah, she looks really good, all because she didn't have her glasses on. Yeah, but then she loses the beret, but that's sad but not important.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's only 12 minutes left in the film. The fight hasn't even started yet, but now it's about to. Except for the fact that they're just throwing punches. I don't know if they're just air punches and they're dodging or if they're supposed to be hitting each other.
That's what I was thinking too. I had to ask my dad whether or not those were supposed to be real punches or if he was just dodging them.
Yeah, I couldn't tell because I had already seen the fighting in the only other fighting scene of this movie.
I
Um
also thought it so strange that it was such it it prompted Rocky to be angry that Apollo like held onto his hands before the fight, like they were holding hands.
yeah, and then they're fighting, quote unquote. And then Rocky hits Creed and he falls to the ground, but it's very clear that he did not hit him at all. And I was all caps. He didn't even hit him. How was this allowed in the film? I don't know.
Mhm.
And all my notes were they're not even fighting each other. This isn't realistic. Like what's going on?
Yep.
And somehow they Apollo like almost got knocked out and Rocky's like barely alive at this point.
He
And
even cut his eye open.
that was disgusting. Like, I don't even know what there wasn't a knife, it was like a hook or something. They just, like, scratched across his eye, and then there's, like, blood.
How did that even help him see?
I don't know. Like, what would that do?
Also, okay, what do you think was more gross? When he punched the meat, when he drank all those eggs, or when he cut his eye open?
If I had to, like, rank them, it would definitely be
Mhm.
the eggs first, and then the eye, and then punching the meat.
Really?
Because first, he, like, went on a run after drinking 4 raw eggs. I would immediately throw up, once I started running if I hadn't already. Like, I mean, the blood, like, yeah, that's really, really gross. But I'm sure his face was already numb at that point, so He
Mhm.
wouldn't feel it. And you can wash your hands after the meat, like, it's I think that's the least gross of the 3. But I'm also not vegetarian.
Okay, yeah.
But then he's, like, bleeding all over the place, but he's also bleeding out of his nose, and I they stuck something up his nose, and it looked like a tampon, and I was like, "Is this She's the Man? Is this?"
It probably was.
I was like, "Is this where that came from?" Because but then it looked like there was, like, a wooden stick, like, I don't know if there was, like, cotton wrapped around a wooden stick, but that happened, and I was like, "Is this where She's the Man got the idea?" Because genius, you know?
Mhm, and they're doing that because Rocky broke his nose for the first time, and he asks Mick, how it looks, and he says, "Ah, it's an improvement." That's why I love Mick.
Yeah, he's funny. Also, Mick or Mickey, he sounds I don't know if you've ever seen The Little Rascals, the 1990s version.
No, you always ask me that, and I always say no.
Alright, we're doing that movie later. But anyway, he sounds exactly like Froggy from The Little Rascals. If anyone's seen that, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. He sounds like Froggy.
Guess I'll take your word for it for now.
But then there's also one of the parts of this fight that I was very confused about was that it looked like there was, like, steam coming off of their bodies. I don't know if you noticed that, but I was like, "Is it that cold or are they that hot?" Um,
I think they're that hot.
and then after that, they started, like, showing the boxing girls. I'm sure they have a name, I don't know what their name is, like, the girls that walk around with the sign showing what
Mhm.
number they're on. When they got to 5, I was like, "That's weird." And then they were at 13, and I was like, "Are I thought there were only 3 rounds."
Yeah, I was under that impression too, but I know absolutely nothing about boxing.
Yeah, and I was like, "Maybe I'm just being dumb." And that's like wrestling or something that they can only go up to 3. In boxing, you can do as many as you want unless someone gets knocked out, but that was all I kind of thought about. And then the fight ends, and I don't know, I was disappointed.
Did you think he was gonna win?
I couldn't tell. I was like, "Did he win? Did Creed win? Did they tie?" They were like, "I don't want a rematch." So, did they not tie? Because if they tied, then
No,
they
they did tie.
oh, oh,
But okay, the real winner in this situation was Rocky because he achieved his goal of just hanging in there,
yeah. I don't know,
which was the first time that's ever happened.
I guess I thought there'd be this big moment where Rocky is the underdog and he's won everything, but
Mhm.
I guess not. And then once this is over, he just screams Adrian's name over and over again, and I just didn't understand why she wasn't there in the first place.
I don't know.
Like, why didn't she watch? Why wasn't she with like, near at least near the trainers or in the front row where Polly was? Like, she's his girlfriend, why wasn't she there? Why was she in the locker room?
You're right, she was waiting in the locker room until, like, halfway through the fight when she stepped out.
And then
I don't know.
she was trying to make her way up towards the ring, and she loses her beautiful red beret, and it's
I know.
tragic.
It was really sad. I also think it's very, deserving that Polly was trying to get in there to, like, say hi to Rocky and kinda be there with him, and he was turned away. Then Adrian just pushes right past
Well,
him.
Polly, like,
Like,
lifts
"Back
up
up
the oh, what is that called?
the rope."
Yeah, yeah. He just lifts up the rope and she climbs under. So I guess he kinda,
Mhm.
like, helped her get there.
But I like that he wasn't next to Rocky
Yeah,
because he sucks.
yeah, Polly's one of the worst characters in this.
Yeah, and that's how it ends, right?
And then that was it. They like, she said, "I love you," and then he was like, "I love you," and then that was it.
Mhm.
So,
Wow. What a wild ride that we went on.
what a film that I really had expected something very different.
Mhm.
Like, that's not what I
I
expected at all.
I kind of okay, I expected more fighting, but I also expected to either love it or hate it. I didn't expect to have such mixed emotions about it.
I I feel very indifferent because I can't stand Adrian and Rocky's relationship. I guess it makes a little bit more sense with that one key line that I missed. But I like Mickey, and I like Creed, and I like
Mhm,
Creed's manager and his fun outfits.
mhm.
But I don't really
Yeah,
like Rocky. I hate Polly. Adrian's okay. But I do love the loan shark man. I think he's great.
Even though he's probably murdered like hundreds of people.
Honestly, he doesn't seem that bad. He gives Rocky almost $600.
Okay, but he yelled at Rocky for not breaking a man's thumbs.
Yeah, but he didn't like do anything to Rocky. He just like yelled at him. He could have done a lot worse and he chose not to.
Yeah, because Rocky could beat him up,
But Rocky wouldn't.
I guess. I don't know. I think this movie was more of a love story than I thought it was going to be.
It
Or
definitely I thought it would be a fighting movie and it wasn't a fighting movie in the least.
Mhm. And I really did not like the relationship between Adrian and Rocky at first, but then when he describes it as filling in the gaps,
Mm.
like she was always told that her brain matters more than her body, and he was always told that his body matters more than his brain, and they kind of fit together in that way. Then I kind of understood it more, and I don't know. At the end, I liked it.
Yeah.
Their
I think
relationship, not the movie. I don't know how I feel about the movie.
it's definitely a lot to take in, I think. It wasn't as much of an easy watch as I thought it would be.
Hmm. Yeah.
But that's
I understand why all American boys seem to love this movie, but I also think it might teach them lessons that are not good for them and women's rights.
yes. Yes. But overall, I I would have been okay with not having seen it. This is one I don't need to say how have I never seen this.
Really?
Yeah, I'd like I don't in my mind it wasn't that amazing or like culturally important, but I think maybe if I had seen this when it came out, if I didn't grow up in this era, I would view this movie very differently, or if I had seen it when I was a lot younger.
Yeah. I think that watching it now in 2020, it's hard for me to see past the toxic masculinity that the film kind of perpetuates. But I think that if I had seen it when it came out, in the 70s, times were different and I probably would have appreciated it more. But I think that it's an important film to see just because we're from Philly. I don't know. That's my final kind of, I guess that's my conclusion about how I feel about it.
Yeah, I think it kind of shapes every Philly and surrounding Philly area kid when you go on a field trip to the art museum and then you run up the stairs.
Hmm.
It's definitely
I,
important in that way.
yeah, I would say that I had Philly pride at the end of it.
I had Philly pride when he ran up the stairs, except
Hmm.
his statue's at the bottom of the stairs, and that doesn't really make sense. So, but yeah, so that was, I guess, our take on Rocky. I'm so sorry if Rocky is your favorite film.
I'm really sorry if we offended you.
If like Adrian and Rocky's relationship is your favorite. But yeah, that's all for now. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Hey, congratulations, you've made it to the end of our podcast. Thank you so much for listening. It is hosted by Isabel Barone and Lauren Cola, and it is, I guess, produced by me, so produced by Isabel Barone. The music is by Scott Holmes, and the podcast art is by Lauren Cola. Thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye!